Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and I just want to go ahead and start off by saying thank you. It has been about 2 months since the last time I posted a video on this YouTube channel concerning this 4200 rebuild that I've been doing now for a little while, and I have actually gained subscribers, which is fairly odd. And there have been a lot of people posting questions on the comment section of those videos that I am hoping to actually make another kind of Q&A response video. So look forward to that. But once again, just thank you for all of the new people. I just want to say hello. It's nice to have you here. And I hope you can learn or at least, I guess, take something from these videos. So, once again, it's been 2 months since the last time I posted a video, and I think I called that one the finishing touches or touching up the engine. I'll try to link that video right up here in the corner, or at least in the description, so that you all can see it. Now, for anyone who has done an engine rebuild and put that rebuild motor back into a vehicle, the touch-ups, in my opinion, is probably the most difficult part, especially when you go away from factory components, when you start modifying the motor. And in this instance, with me upgrading to the large log cylinder head, trying to make things work has been kind of a pain. So, I mean, if you have a different experience, good on you, but buttoning up things, making it look pretty has always been a bit of a challenge for me, at least. So I want to talk about a handful of things that I have done, things that I still need to do, because I'll be honest, a lot hasn't changed since the last video. And yeah, we'll just talk about the build right now. So what has changed? If you look back in my prior videos, you may notice that not a whole lot. If I'm just going to be honest, things are pretty much exactly the same as we had left them about 2 months ago. Now, there are a handful of things that I have been working on, however, and I'll just kind of go ahead and talk about some of those things concerning this rebuild. So, first things first, this was a huge pain in my neck, and that was running the hose line to the automatic transmission. So, on this cylinder head here, this large log cylinder head has the EGR system for it. Obviously, that's plugged up. But because it has that, it has this little threaded hole area here where you can actually plug in kind of a hose fitting. So this is what I wanted to use to run my vacuum for the transmission. As you can see, this is kind of honestly more of a mock-up of what I want it to look like near the end. I do plan on running hardline because this little plastic rubber hose thingy is just not really doing the job. Plus, honestly, it kind of looks like trash. Now, why was this a pain in my neck? Well, the reason why this was a pain in my neck is because when I was just doing the rebuild itself, I had put in just a little threaded plug into the intake so that garbage or junk wouldn't go into the log or the intake. That plug decided that it wanted to basically shear and did not want to be removed. It really liked being on the intake. So I had to go out, buy a tool to remove that old plug, but I had to do it very, very carefully to make sure that no shredded metals would enter the intake. And I'll tell you right now, that was a very, very annoying process. It was very tedious. I was moving incredibly slow to try to make sure that no metal got in here. Now, the operation was a success. The motor will start. It's been on multiple times since then. It's been perfectly fine, so thank God it worked. However, nothing raises my blood pressure more than potential metal in the intake. And I'm pretty sure everyone else who has been around for a little while completely understands where I am coming from. This really, really raised my blood pressure. The second thing that I have been trying to solve is the PCV system for this motor. So you can kind of see here, I got the PCV system. This is once again just a really, really bad mock-up of ultimately what I want it to look like. Now the issue is, once again, I'm going away from factory specifications, factory components. This Weber 3838 does not have a direct fitment for a PCV system, but the Autolite that originally came with this motor did. So this was very, very easy to just set up and, plug and play. But because I'm changing things, I now have to make things work. Now, one of the things that I'm having to make work is feeding this darn plug into the same hose size as the PCV system. So I'm going to have to modify this plastic plug a little bit more. And by modify, I mean cut into it a little bit in order to shove that hose into it so that the fumes that come out go directly back into the carburetor, so that the system is just, running as close as possible to the original system. Obviously, once again, with the Weber not having a direct connection, this is the only direction you can really go in. So once again, that is another thing that I am trying to make look nice. Another thing that I am trying to make look nice is this darn electric choke system. I have it set up. It does work. I am honestly kind of at a loss though on how to try to make this look nicer. If anybody does have photos of their wiring that they have going to their Weber, I would appreciate some photos of it. Just because, right now it's just dangling and it doesn't really look good. And I really don't know if I should try to connect it maybe to this hose line, maybe tape it to try to make it look at least a little bit more or a lot more clean that way. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what's going off in that regard. Then we have this darn fuel line here. So this fuel line, I need to make hard lines for it. I need to make something that can completely wrap around the valve cover. So, come down from here, go all the way around the valve cover to the carburetor. And I need to get this fuel regulator close or as close as possible to the carburetor itself. Now, there are a handful of videos of people who have upgraded to Weber carburetors, and they use a fuel regulator from a company called Redline. And that fuel regulator, 9 times out of 10, people will mount it to the back right over here. Now, the only reason why I have not installed that Redline fuel regulator is because this Mr. Gasket fuel regulator here is what came from Clifford Performance. It's the regulator that they ship with the kit. And I just wanted to keep it. But at this point, I really think I may be going for the Redline fuel regulator just because, although that looks really good, it's kind of a pain to be able to mount that somewhere else. Once again, if somebody has a video or a picture of their Mr. Gasket fuel regulator on one of these motors and it looks good, please send it to me. I would love to see how you have it set up. I honestly need quite a bit of recommendations at this point. The next thing, these wires, the spark plug wires. So I had these laying around. These do work perfectly fine. They are MSDs and they are awesome. I absolutely love these spark wires. But man, they look ugly. They're just way too long for this setup. And I have to, or I want to go out and buy the DUI spark plugs on their website, but they're like $120, $110 if I recall correctly. I'll see if I can post a photo of it right about here. And that, that's just quite a bit of money. Whereas these MSDs, if I recall correctly, are about $50 from like AutoZone. But it's one of those issues where, is the money spent worth the cosmetic appeal that you would get from installing it on the motor. But I mean, also with these long spark plugs, you know, it just doesn't look good, and I'm kind of tired of looking at them, to be honest. So I think it's going to be money well spent. The final issue that I am trying to solve is the lining here for the return springs. So I do like this setup. This doesn't seem horrible. I have tried to make it look as nice as possible. It does function. It does exactly what it needs to do. So one of the biggest issues when it comes to these conversions that I have seen is people will have their return cables just, I mean, almost anywhere. Though some people will connect it to the bolt like right over here. Some people will just randomly have it, I mean, just somewhere. And this right here was a kit that I had bought. I believe it was a Mr. Gasket kit. I bought it from AutoZone, if I recall correctly. And this seemed to be like a nice middle ground. I can still tie down my header, and this just connects straight to that header stud. And it honestly doesn't look too bad. Now, I have tried to make it as vertical as possible or horizontal as possible. But once again, when you're dealing with a carburetor that is canted, things just look weird. And talk about a canted carburetor. I mean, I'm really considering trying to buy one of those carburetor 1V to 2V conversion adapter pieces from Vintage Inlines, because from everything that I have seen, those adapter pieces don't have this weird cant. But, you know, once again, that's going to, you know, force me to buy another adapter piece, and they're not cheap from what I recall, and replace all of those gaskets and then put everything back together, which is, you know, it's not the most painful thing in the world, but it's just like, oh man, this is going to have to happen again. You know, I will say though, one of my pride and joys concerning this entire build is this sticker. You know, this sticker's really cool. I really like this. I think I got this on eBay. So yeah, if you are interested in one of these stickers, just look up eBay for 200 performance stickers and you will be able to find that. And the final thing concerning this rebuild is the entire exhaust system is completely off the motor. So the original exhaust system was old. It had a lot of holes in it just because it was incredibly rusty and it needed to be ripped off. So that means every single time I start this motor, even though it's incredibly small, it wakes up my entire neighborhood. And I don't know about y'all, but I do like my neighbors, and I do kind of feel bad for having to run the motor when it's that incredibly loud. So I have to figure out now how I need to go about building a brand new exhaust system for this motor if I don't take it to a shop just to get it over and done with. So because it's too loud also means that I don't have a decent amount of time to be able to adjust the carburetor to make sure that, you know, it's idling perfectly fine. You know, it's been very, very difficult to do all of the QC work necessary to get the motor exactly where it needs to be and reliable. Now, I will say to kind of, you know, have some hope in regards to the rebuild. The motor starts every single time I want it to start. It gives me absolutely no trouble. It drives in and out of my garage. It will go forward, it will go back. So I am very happy about that. So with all of that in mind, that's kind of why I haven't had a lot of videos posted concerning the rebuild. There just hasn't been anything really being done to it. And also, by the time that the motor had gotten back into the truck, this was the holiday season. So, you know, Halloween, November, and December. And for other car guys or gals out there, you all know that the holiday season, I mean, sucks when in terms of like having a project car, because you start allocating money to absolutely everything else. You know, you want to buy gifts for people, and with how expensive car parts have gotten, you know, buying a gift for your mom or your dad or your spouse, your brother or sister, you know, becomes your priority, and it definitely was my priority. So I'm barely recovering from that, which means that I'm barely able to start focusing once again on this little guy. So with all that in mind, you know, once again, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Please do like and subscribe. I know it's kind of a cliche, but it really does help. I make absolutely no money doing this or doing these videos. So if you get anything out of it, please like, please subscribe. It means a lot because everything I do is completely self-funded. None of this is ever sponsored. So I'm definitely not making YouTube money right now, and I'm definitely not making sponsorship money right now. So, you know, anything really does help. But other than that, thank you all for sticking around. And as soon as I have another big update, I will make sure to post it right here on this channel. Until then, you know, look forward to an upcoming Q&A. And if you have any questions, please put it in this comment section of this video, and I'll try to do another Q&A with the questions in this video. All right then, bye-bye.